Love this. Love this. This is great. You guys should start uploading your work in high res if you're not worried about copyright. And in this stage of AI theft, I mean, who cares, right? It's all gonna get stolen no matter what. A lot of nice angles in this. A lot of nice verticals. A lot of nice everything. So let's talk composition. That's always the first of the four most important facets of any good painting is composition, so the drawing. We're going to look at the drawing here. So first off, I did a little bit of rule of thirds looking at this piece, and this lines up really well. Love that. Also, something that you want to notice is although the compositional lines all kind of guide us with these fine travelers to a place. Let me make sure I'm on the right layer. Yeah. Basically, where this atrium or lobby or entranceway to this multiplex. This looks like it's probably about 3 stories. Wow, look at that. Okay, more on that later. Love the fine detail too. Again, high res. This would just be unappreciable if it had been lower res. The horizon's lower, but it still works. You don't have to follow any set rules. But one thing that is going on is these diagonals definitely connect there and here. So you got these corners are nice and filled equally. I like that. So you got some nice forms framing your main shot. Oh. So I have to go back and forth between a PC and a Mac, so forgive my hotkey issues. Wonderful composition, but really, rules of thirds aside, and this is just great. You got foreground, midground, background, and super background. The foreground is really limited. The tilt shift is perfect. All our verticals are nice and straight. We do have some perspective going on, but it's not troublesome. Again, this isn't exactly bug's eye view, but it's kind of maybe from a seated position or, kind of like a child, kind of, kind of kid like walking down the way, kind of what they would see, I guess, versus like an adult that would be, like standing. Oh, look at the awesome stuff, young man. Da, 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 da. And that's fine. So it's not really bug's eye view. We're at least level with the trash bags, which, by the way, I absolutely love these trash bags. It's almost my favorite part of this. The fact that you included that is absolutely brilliant in your composition. And that is a compositional element. And I don't know if those were a 3D asset or a photo that you plopped in there. Probably 3D, but doesn't matter. It was edited to fit pretty well. It's also, notice, something else you want to look at. We'll get more on this when we go into value, but there are a couple of little things that kind of stand out to me in the values, but mostly, so this will be our darkest color here in the trash bags. That's lighter, that's good. This should be a little lighter, good. Good. So everything should cascade for the most part if they're an equivalent color, lighter to the back. But you always want to have that dynamic. You want typically your strongest values close as they recede, because there's a lot of atmospheric perspective in this, and it's all about depth. This is not about depth maps. So many of you guys just make these blur city renders that no human eye is ever going to see anything like. It's like a lens baby over your eyes or something. It's ridiculous. Stop doing that. This is everything in focus. This is how we see the world for the most part. The part of our eye that registers what we're looking at discounts and ignores all the stuff around the periphery for the most part. You see movement, you see something jump out and scare you, you know, caveman days, all that, whatnot. But pretty much everything that we're going to see is in focus. I want you guys to go take a look at architecture photography. Find me some stuff with some extreme depth of field, really low aperture going on. I don't think you're going to find that. So a lot of you guys need to study some photography and you'll get better. Okay, anyway, tangent aside, this is really beautiful. So compositionally, it's great. I think its biggest flaw compositionally is this tree here, this close tree. I got major problems with this tree. You're gonna need to either delete or fix this tree, bud. So again, it's drawing our eyes in cool directions, in the right directions. I mean, again, 8.5 out of 10. It's this tree. That's what's killing you. Like this could be a. I don't think anything ever gets to be a 10, but this is like a 9+ easily. Except for a couple of the little things that we're gonna go over. All right. So I don't know if this was done in a real-time engine. I doubt it. This looks very V-Ray Corona-ish, but again, it doesn't matter. I just don't know that anyone would be able to get these kind of results elsewise. So we have foreground, we got midground elements. Even though this is pretty much all midground, because it's cropped, and I love this crop. So it didn't need to be any wider. We don't need to see any of this. This is swinging back around our head. This is swinging back around our head or our camera, right? Ooh, wrong layer. So this is all really midground too. This building is definitely midground. This mass here, our background is actually our focal point. Well, it's our eyes go to that, and then which is exactly what you want to do. All this other stuff, these are co-stars. This is your star, baby, right? And I do like layering, and I do like these trees layered, and these trees are pretty great, except for this one. This one sucks. Okay, more on that later. So I think compositionally, I do like that these trees also kind of give a cascade down to our focal point. I mean, this is how urban planning is. I mean, it's just this shot is set up well, probably on purpose. I don't know if someone could get this lucky by accident. This is good stuff. It's good stuff, people. So I think that's about enough on comp. Let's take a look at values. Our second tier in importance. Let me just throw up. Yeah, you know, I recommend all y'all homies on the Reddit Archviz try doing a black and white layer always. Look at your work with a black and white adjustment layer on it and just appreciate it, because you should have a very nice gamut. So the simplest image that you could have would be white on black. That's binary. What we want is a narrowish field, but we don't want. I mean, Caravaggio painted 0 to 10. You know, it's purest black to whitest white. We got not a nice range of grays, you know, and what you also want to do is squint your eyes. So I mean, we got nice masses, nice variances in the grays, you know, and colors of what is in reality aside, right? Oh, I gotta rise above so I can get my red out. Okay, so I mean, this could be a great piece just in the black and white, because what is it? It's a good piece. And you know what's standing out a lot that's really nice are some of these highlights here that I really wasn't even appreciating. This here, I wasn't even really appreciating that. I apologize. I wasn't appreciating that fully when the color was on, but now, yep, it's there. It's getting a little bit of that warmth from here. This is such a good render. This is kind of where I think we all should try to be. You've got reflection of these lights on the pavement, doing really good. So the moisture there is giving a good account. I hope in return, I would like to see a process video from, what's your name, friend? You are Impressive Window. I think what you might, maybe you can impress us all with a tutorial of your own. Maybe you can get me back for this redline, but honestly, it's my pleasure to redline this because this is really good concept art. Any kind of art, any kind of person, right? You've got good ranges within all your boundaries, and I could go into depth about this. I don't want to take forever. Again, we're redlining this, but honestly, it's weird. I have more nicey stuff to say than bad stuff. I don't really have I have one bad thing really, and then a couple like minutia things. So again, color don't matter. We're still, in this case, we still see the reflections. We know this light is coming down here, and then within our light, well, look, we've got our reflection of the sky behind us. Nice pink sky. Just within one of these cubes, we've got 1, 2, which I guess this is a desk or some structure, and then we've got our ceiling lights. And we've got some variation in different places. These might be like interstitial layers or something, I guess. Yeah, this is a ceiling, this is a ceiling, this is a ceiling. So these are tall, I think. And then, honestly, I don't know. I do get a little weirded out. It's accurate architecturally, I'm sure, but because I'm sure it was modeled. I don't know. I need to see the model to exactly know, because the way lights bounce around, stuff can get funky. I don't know if that is a story or that is a story. I'm thinking this, we're kind of under it. So these are chairs and a table. So somebody standing in here would be kind of like this. And then this is the ceiling above them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I see it. And this is a nice overhang, I guess, in this really cool atrium here. And zooming in, I could still make everything out. Nothing gets too much together. We'll talk about that in a second. We'll go back to color. But for the most part, all the important stuff, everything has an edge to it, which is the third most important thing when we come to edges. I'll use some of this for edges, some that gets a little funky. Okay. Yes, moving on. Love these lights coming up too. That's really cool. Are you an architect? You work for architects? You're really getting in on the money. Okay, so values, great. Nothing really bad to say, except let's not ignore the giant tree in the room. Okay, this tree is dark. It might be a little too dark. It's, I don't want to say distracting, but it's very nice. It's a pretty tree, but it's kind of, it's a hit or miss whether the layering here is helping us or hurting us. But here's the big problem. There's really no extra light to hit this tree. I don't see any reason why this tree would get a lot more light than this. They look about the same size, and they're not tall enough to get any of this like bouncing sunlight from that building. You know what I mean? So I don't think that this would be lighter. But the problem is you've got the same kind of value right here as you do on this building in the background. This all needs to be dark. This tree's limbs and trunk should not be darker than this foreground tree. At least the shadows. The shadows on here should be darker, and the highlights on here should be lighter. Okay? That's your big problem. I know you worked hard on this tree. I can see the masking. Looks like this was masked in, which is fine. Something you want to watch out for when you're masking in trees is like it's just hard, first of all, no matter how much photoshopping you do, no matter how much quick mask mode that comes in. If this was a 3D asset, then I'm way off. But still, it was masked, and you start getting these like weird, like, how's this floating out here? How's this floating out here? What are these little orbiting? Like, what it, you know, if you're going to do something that's going to end up this high res, you might want to think about that. Again, 98% of people are never even going to notice. I will, though. But I struggle with this myself, as we all do. The other thing I hate about this tree is that it's kind of hurting this form here from actually, and this form here from actually showing. I guess a lot of people wouldn't notice that we are going to see this building, which again, this looks really great. Great mist effect here on the light. But we've got light coming from back here. Then these guys are there. I bet most people may not even notice them, and these trees make it tougher to notice. So, what if we just did some nonsense here? I don't know what the AI is going to do here. I don't know if it's going to take this tree out, but I'm just curious what it would do if we tried to get it to. Where's my, here we go. Oh, do I need a new layer to do this little trick? Or that layer? I don't know. It doesn't want to let me do the oh, you have to be on the selection tool. Is that right? Move tool. Well, I don't know how you do it, so forget it. But just as an experiment, it kind of would have been interesting to see more of this building, I think, and even maybe some little micro details in there. I don't know if you're able to render it out. Could be some neat stuff going on. I think this tree kind of gets it. And also at this scale, I think your lines, I keep getting so close to see the pixels. I think they're they read a little more accurate. I like that the trees are different and they're not samey. They look like they're each a different tree or type of tree. All right. Edges are pretty good. There's some nice soft mist effects going on up in here in your clouds. The reflections are good. Nice soft edges going on in here. Of course, you're going to have mostly hard edges. Reflection on this is pretty cool. Where'd you get these assets, man? This is swell. These reflections here are really crispy. Just the texture on that is very nice too. Texture on here looks very realistic. Everywhere you get close, there's a lot of detail, attention paid. So like, you know, that right there, if that right there was your, let's say this is your render, that's still a freaking cool render, right? Just that. So this tree reads good. This tree reads good. Now when we get down to the trunks, I'm not crazy about this. This looks kind of fakey, I gotta say. I don't know if it got cropped or this is just the 3D element. Also, it looks like one got forgotten here. Like there should have been another tree here, but you didn't put it in because you wanted to show this. That's fine, but just make sure to clean up your mess down there. Like don't leave some mystery shadow. Like what is this down here? Some pit of hell? I mean, it reads like the same scale as these guys going back, so I'm assuming it's like a little tree cover, a little tree form there. But I mean, yeah, they look good. You might, when you mask again, you might blur, actually, on the topic of edges, you might blur some edges, but more than anything for value, you got to make these darker. So like, here's your kind of a typical color here on your near tree, your close tree, okay? That's one of these branches, okay? This guy's branch, it's throwing it because of the contrast, the high contrast, but I would bet it's darker. And even if it isn't darker, it needs to read. So, yeah, you can tell. Where's my color? Come on, colorist, wake up. So there, lighter, darker, lighter, darker. Okay, you need to be the opposite. Okay, but again, minor thing. So when we're up against this, see, we've got, I think it was shopped in, and that's why we've got these problems, because everything in your scene rendered correctly because the computer did all the thinking for you. This light post that's behind there, like, I can't tell what the hell is going on here. Where's all this spaghetti? What you need is a nice dark shadow on this mofo, right? You need, now it's going to show up. And another thing you add to this tree to make it pop is you give it a little bit more highlight than the other tree. And then you actually give it a little bit of that if you want. And you throw a little bit of that in there. Maybe a little less, right? Now, look at that now. Compared to this. You see? This is cool looking. I wouldn't say you need to lighten that. I just think you need to darken that up. And also, I wouldn't have done that there, but that's me. I mean, again, it doesn't hurt anything. I like that you have this tree here. It's not necessary. Something could be here, but I'm missing this. I think it would have been cooler to kind of see like what was going on back here. And what was going on right here. So we could have seen a little bit more dynamics in the sky if we had maybe a window, so maybe you have a couple branches up there, you know, and maybe that's where it ends. And I really should be kind of painting like this. That's a little harsh edged. And maybe not cover up your building. This is just an alternative. Like if you redid this is exactly what I would recommend for you to do. And then we can get even more of an effect from the depth here. Like you got so much. You have a building here. You could have it in other ones back there. I mean, you could play that up a lot, Mr. Mrs. They, them, whoever you might be. All right, so pretty cool. Also, I think we could have gone a little darker over on this guy. I'm not sure. I guess it was picking up some light from over here because we had those highlights that we mentioned previously. But I think it wouldn't have hurt, you know, to have had, you know, like some darker shadows down in here, like down here, in some of these darker areas. And, you know, this could easily be done with some masking and an adjustment layer. But some of that, I think, could have been helpful. You know, so let's go back to here. See that? I think that's an area for improvement. But the reflections here are good. You know, your bright areas are reflecting. So whatever kind of specular setting that you have down on this really cool stonework, these pavers are great because you can tell that they're set at different angles because some are reflecting and the others are not. Again, I'm not sure what happened here. Was there something that got taken out or something? I mean, everywhere else the grout is pretty uniform, but for some reason it just decides to disappear, like in some of these areas. I think we would still see it. You know, I don't know why that would have gone hidden. It might have gotten a little fainter, but even these, like the size of these little lines that I'm drawing right now, I think we would have still seen that. This looks a little smudgy. I don't know what's going on right here, but you know, maybe it can be fixed, maybe not. I would try. This is kind of funky. This reflection is okay, I guess. Something I noticed when I was looking real close is something about the where this vehicle is sitting. It kind of looks like it's driving up on the curb, which you probably don't want. So I think in the future I would probably move it over that way. So your wheels are like the front wheel has got some. So here's your automobile like this, right? Yeah, that is so bad. If you draw a car, there's a wheel, and there's a wheel back of the car. Move your car back there, right? And give yourself like a gap between the curb and the car, like right here. Just give yourself a little bit of gap. Because I think it's kind of looking like it's like riding a rail up on the curb. But I mean, otherwise, looks good. Tesla, whatever. These cars look good. Asset pack. I mean, like the lights, spot on. You got them. You can see through that car to the light. Thankfully, you've got enough reflectivity where you don't have to worry about drivers. So I didn't see any problem without there being drivers in these driverless vehicles that we have. But good work on the headlights and taillights. You know, sometimes that gets omitted. Like I really love all this detail back here. Super good. Also, these guys are kind of. I feel like it could be a little more contrast back here. Not a ton, but kind of like I was talking about over here. Value wise, I don't think it would have hurt. Something I'm noticing is like wintertime, fall time. These are deciduous trees, leaves are down. Are people wearing summer clothes here? Really? I mean, maybe. Also, girls with high heels, it's tough. I wouldn't do it. She looks like she's floating. Like you need this shadow. You need a little bit more of a shadow there to really like get this to look right. I know in the model it was probably fine the way you had it, but you know, make sure they look really nice and grounded, and then I think they'd have maybe like a little bit more shadow. Don't be afraid to get in here with a paintbrush and paint on your models. It's a valuable skill to have. It's a little too dark, but you know, if there. I don't know. Think it helped? What do you think? Float? Not float? Float? Not float? Yeah. Okay. Now, let's talk about this going on back here. These are two dudes facing us, I think. And I don't have any idea what is going on back here. Again, it doesn't ruin it, but you know, this being your focal feature, this market that you've got here, like you got people in here, books, stores, department store. I'm not sure if this is parallax or not. This is definitely, these dudes are not parallax. They're hanging out here across the street. This is like wavy. I know it's not AI, but it looks like some kind of AI hallucination. Again, I just noticed, you know, these could probably have just slightly darker, shadowy areas on here. Oh, 0. You know, just help get that definition. That's too dark, but just a little bit darker. There's a little more darkness in there, make it look kind of cool. All right. What else? But yeah, by and large, this looks really cool. I might have had a couple of more figures kind of walking back here, just kind of give it a little more scale. These guys are kind of hard to see and hard to read. So maybe, some people here or here. But, you don't have to over entourage it, but there's really nobody back here to tie this together except those two dudes on the bench, which are kind of funky and hard to see. Right? So, you could have had like a walker here. I think that would have been good. But, for next time. And, and shoot, why not, ham it up? Have that walker right there. Then they really stand out. Yeah, I don't know. You don't want them to stand out too much, but this is all really cool. I mean, if you actually model all this, cheers. If this is just, a photo, I don't know. You tell me. I don't know what you did here, but it's pretty cool. These are very samey. I can tell these are carbon copies. So again, I don't know if it was parallax or post. Whoa, but they're really samey. And then some of these other floors don't have them. Honestly, I wouldn't even have these things, but that's me. I don't think we need to see them. If we are going to see them, we need to see more variety. And it's funny, like just these. Yeah, it's really cool. All right, let me turn all this butchery I've done here so we can like see things properly again. But yeah, the tree needs work, and again, that really looks like photoshopping. One thing you can do though is when you're doing your selections, try to like unfeather them, and then you lock your layer, and you actually, this is a painting lesson. I would actually paint on that if I were doing this, if I had this on a separate layer in Photoshop, because that does not look like it was part of the render. I would be damn surprised if it was, and I can tell because all these little string alongs. This tree though, probably part of the render. What else? Not much else. These are not the easiest things to read, but what would you do about that? Well, you would add a little more highlight on that, and then a little more dark here. Subtle things. It's a painting. This bollard kind of gets lost. I'm not sure what these are. Like lights on the road, reflective lights. They're a little confusing. Also, why is there a light strip here? I mean, is there light actually getting down under that? That must be... I mean, it's possible. Headlights reflecting, but I would think... Oh, not that dark. I would think, it would make full contact with the ground. And then probably have, like, a circle like that. Little things. Crosswalk here. It's very involved. There's a lot going on. Street lights look really good. I think that's about it. I've gone over pretty much everything I really like about it. And, so edges are a big problem with this tree. Some of the fine details, shadows, keeping, foreground, if you want to watch right here, foreground, midground, background, all on the proper hierarchies. It's pretty important. That's a wrap, folks. I look forward to seeing more work from you. This is really great. It's been a pleasure. Oh no, well, not red. Green line. Yes. Yes. More high res. Love it. Can't wait to see more work from you. All right. This is Stevie Moore, Studio Spectre, signing off. Thank you.